Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show that's taking you through the writings of St. Isaac the Syrian in modern day English. My name is Yurdisa Kali, and this is homily number 3. We're continuing on with homily number 3. I'm really excited for it. Let's see what St. Isaac has to tell us today. It's hopefully a pretty short episode for us as well. All right. So St. Isaac says, while the body, by its impulses, act accordingly to the order of nature, the world, through its nature, works upon us by means of the senses. So the world is working through your senses, right? This is how it's acting upon you. And the soul, by its deliberation, by its memories, and by its capacities for deviation, and so forth, right? So this is how the soul is working. You got deliberation, memories, and capacities for deviation. And the demons, by incorporating forces of all of these. So you have a collection of all of these that are happening. The senses and as well as deliberation, memories, and capacities. While the power of these fourfold affection is being experienced by the ascetic, he will be troubled only slightly and be drawn towards excellent things that are seen by institutions. So he says, judge for yourself whether any one of these four can be annihilated before the world's end, or by the transition that occurs at death, or whether the body can lift itself wholly above its need, without nature's urging it to seek any of the world's supplies. Now, this is more of a thing of, I really one day hope to fully understand what's actually going on, but this is one of those things where there is an examination of what is working upon our souls and what are some of the things that can be dismissed, what are some of the things that can be changed, what are some of the things that that can be altered, right? And so he's saying, well, can any of these go away completely? In the earlier part of this homily, he was saying, well, actually, some of these things don't leave all the way until the end, right? All the way until we get to see Christ. And so he's continuing on. And he says, by affections, I do not mean one or two, but the many varied ones that occur in those who wear the flesh. If anyone should claim he experiences only weak impulses and harmless conflict, we would say that such people, whoever they are, do not need outward works so much as great watchfulness. What is the difference between purity of mind and purity of heart? I feel like these things, again, it's such a big topic that it's a little bit difficult to comprehend, but let's carry through. Purity of mind differs from purity of heart as a single member differs from the whole body. The mind is one of the soul's senses. It's very interesting. Okay. The heart is the central organ of the inner senses. The senses of senses, because it is the root. If the root is holy, all the branches are holy. If our heart is holy and it's pure, then all other branches are holy. But if only one branch is holy, the rest are not thereby made holy. With a little acquaintance with the scriptures and a little practice in fasting and solitude, the mind forgets its formal occupations and is cleansed while it refrains from foreign habits, but it's also easily stained again. We see this obviously very, very much in our day-to-day lives. I think that is very important here to know that what we're looking at is the mind. It's so easily swayed, and it takes fasting and it takes solitude and it takes prayers and it takes all these things to change our mind and expand our hearts also. But that mind, even though it goes on and it forgets what it was doing in the past, it's easily stained again. It easily falls into these things. But we got to make sure that our minds are purified and our minds are holy. And he continues on to say, the heart is purified through great toils. by total separation from the world, together with complete mortification in every respect. In his homilies earlier, he talked about letting go of the world, right? Or forgetting the world, doing something, detaching from the world. But the world is not one substance. It's anything that we are attached to with passions, right? And so he's saying the heart is purified. It takes a lot to purify the heart. To purify the heart, there's total separation from the world, together with complete mortification in every respect. Mortification has to come into play. Mortification is the dying to yourself. And we're doing that not because God is, for lack of a better word, not kind or mean. God is giving us that route because that's the route that cleanses the soul. It's the route that shows us, it plants in us a new love. And he's going to tell us what's going to happen next. So I can see the sentence right there. It says, once purified, its purity is not only defiled by contact with trivial worldly things, that is, it does not fear even severe struggles. It has a sound stomach that easily digests all kinds of food that are hard for those who are sick within. Interesting. So in order to survive all the things that are going on in your life, purity of heart is very much essential. When you have that purity of heart, there is, you can easily digest all the problems that are happening in life, and they will occur. And so the difference between people who have faith, not just faith, purified hearts and purified minds in faith, and the people who may not know God at all, or may know God but don't have that purification, is different, and it's noted. And we see that in the lives of saints. You're like, well, how are you suffering and suffering so well? If I were in that position, I'd be, X, Y, and Z. And so that he's giving us the playbook almost. So physicians say food that are hard to digest strengthens a healthy body because a strong stomach assimilates them. Likewise, any purification attained quickly with little effort and in a short time is easily soiled again. But the purity gained through struggles and over a long time by the soul's highest part is not endangered by slight contact with worldly things. Quiet senses beget peace in the soul because they do not let it enter conflict. Since the soul then has no sensation of anything, it is a victory without a battle. Interesting. A victory without a battle. That's a nice kind of victory. When it grows negligent, it cannot remain firm. And when it tries to rid itself of disturbance after disturbance has already gained entry, the soul ruins its former goods, its serenity and natural perfections. Most people, and perhaps the whole world, leave their first state for this reason. Only one out of many return to its original place once he has adopted a second habit. Simplicity is far better than any device for self-excuse. It's very interesting that he says that, and as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, well, you know what? If it's easier to negotiate a peace treaty before the war has happened, before the damage is done. And once the battle hits, once the war starts, the rehab portion of it is a lot harder. And to restore it to what it formerly was, it takes rebuilding, it takes effort, and it takes all of it. And so if we are vigilant from the beginning, then things are going to be different. So he continues and he says, human nature needs fear to keep it from crossing the border of the commandments. And it needs love to arouse it, desires for good things, which a person hastens to perform beautiful deeds. Spiritual knowledge comes after practice of excellence. Before both come love and fear comes before love. Before both come love and fear comes before love. That is with the practice of excellence, which he ties back to the first homily. Whoever tries to seize the latter before the former lays its perishable foundation is in his soul. However, yeah, no, that's right. Okay, God has ordered them so that the one proceeds from the other. Do not trade love for your neighbor for love of worldly things. For what is most precious is hidden within the love of the neighbor. It's very interesting. What you're looking for and what you're seeking is hidden in the love of the neighbor. There's a treasure of grace that is there for you that you wouldn't have known before. And I says, material object that the bodily eye marks also touch the hidden power of sight. Similarly, passion that cloud the second, natural contemplation acts against natural steadfastness. These two correspond to each other up to the point where the flow of contemplation ceases. When the mind is in the state of natural steadfastness, it dwells in angelic contemplation. The first and the natural contemplation, also called the naked mind. When the mind is in the second state of natural knowledge, it sucks and is nourished by the milk from corporal breast. The second state is called the last garment of the earlier state. It comes after purity, into which the mind initially enters. I really want to go back and break this up. Okay, so what do we have? He's saying, well, there's two kinds of natural contemplation, or there's two kinds of contemplation. There's a natural contemplation, and that natural contemplation, it is, so the first state, natural contemplation, also called the naked mind. And that is angelic contemplation. This is where we start to contemplate what the angels are contemplating. Essentially, your mind is always working, and it's either thinking of worldly things or it's thinking of heavenly things. And you'll find yourself ruminating on something over and over and over again. I should have said this way. I should have done this that way. Whatever the case is. You're constantly thinking about a guy or a girl or work or whatever the situation is. So there's always something that you're contemplating. That is the second state of that natural contemplation. And it is fed by the world. Okay? It's fed by flesh. It's fed by my desires. The first one is the one where our minds are lifted above these things, and we're contemplating Christ. We're contemplating heavenly things. We're contemplating the beauty of creation. We're contemplating love. We're contemplating the little things. We're contemplating certain things that are happening that really reveal to you bigger mysteries. Take, for example, when after Christ feeds the multitude, he sends his disciples to the waters to get on a boat, and then the storm starts. And maybe you are passing in your life and there's something that's going on, and you are in a storm, and you say, well, I prayed and I moved here and I'm here now. And so maybe contemplating that, we find wisdom in it, and we find the answer that we're so longing to have. And that would be the idea that he sent them. It's a small idea, it's often overlooked. But instead of contemplating things of the world, we contemplate that, and we understand the mystery that is right before us. All right. So he says, for this reason, it's also called second, and because the sign, what's the original? It is prior in the beginning. So the first state, all right, let me backtrack. It comes after first purity, into which the mind initially enters. That's the first state. It is prior in being, since it is the first state of knowledge, even if it is posterior in honor. For a reason, it's called second, and because the sign and token by which the mind is purified and trained for ascent to higher order, the perfection of intellectual movement near the divine contemplation. The senses are the mind's last garments. Its nakedness, it is being moved by kinds of non-material contemplation. Leave little things in order to find honored ones. Be dead while you live, and you will live in death. That's profound right there. Did you guys hear that? Be dead while you live, and you will live while in death. Die to yourself with integrity, and do not live in guilt. Not only those who suffer death for faith in Christ are martyrs, but also those who die to themselves to keep his commandments. So we sometimes look at the saints that are, we sometimes look at the saints that are martyrs and we're like, well, this is something I could never do. And truthfully, you may never be called to that. And I hope to God that you're not called to that kind of martyrdom in terms of death, right? Obviously, sometimes it raised them to high degrees of sanctification. That's a whole other story. But you are called to something else. And here's St. Isaac to tell you, you can be martyred by your own choice and by your own will if you choose to die to yourself so that you can live. It says, do not be foolish in your request, lest by your ignorance you grieve God. Interesting. Okay. Learn to pray with prudence, that you may be counted worthy of the glorious things. I think I've been very foolish at times with my requests and ignorant, and I hope that I didn't grieve God, but we really have to pray and learn how to pray with prudence, because as the Bible says, you ask and you do not receive because you do not ask rightly. We have to reorient ourselves towards our souls, or towards our soul sanctification. And that's where we begin to ask truthfully, and that's where we begin to ask honestly and with goodness. And so that's that one. All right, so we continue, and he says, ask for noble things from him who does not withhold, and you will receive honor from him because you choose wisely. Does that mean you should not ask for things of the world? No, absolutely. But give him the grace for him to work. Let him show you what he is doing. Solomon asked for wisdom. Along with it, he received earthly kingdoms because he knew how to ask for great things of the king. Elisha asked for a double share of his master's spirit, and his request was not refused. A king's honor is diminished by the one who asks for contemptible things. Israel asked for despicable things and incurred God's anger. It failed to marvel at the works and fearful wonders, and instead thought the belly's desires, while the food was still in their mouth. God's anger reached them. Present your requests to God in a manner that's worthy of his glory, so that your honor will be great in his eyes, and he may delight in you. I really, really want to point out that corporeal things of the world, things of the flesh, they're super easy for God. And that's just the easiest thing to happen. And with that, we have to really realize that at times we have to ask things that are worthy of the King, that are worthy of the King of glory, that are worthy of God. I really do think sometimes I ask for things that they're so easy for him. It's like, ask for the big things. And once you ask for the big things, the little things come too. The easy stuff, that's easy. But he needs to ensure your salvation first. He needs to ensure my salvation first. If a man asks a king for a measure full of dung, he is despised for the base request and insults the king by his tasteless demand. Such also is the one who, in prayer, asks God for merely bodily things. Very true. Behold, angels and archangels, the chiefs among angels, look upon you during prayer to see what you pray, where will you will present to their Lord. All the angels, they're looking at you. They're looking at me and they're asking, they're saying, what are you asking? Do you not know who you're in the presence of? They marvel at you when they see bodily creatures step down from their dung heap and ask for heavenly things. Do not ask God for what he is eager to give, even if we don't ask him. What he withholds either from his household, nor even from his completely ignorant of him. That's very true. That's very true. And I've lived my life asking for things that he's eager to give me anyways. Of course, you should include God in your little things as well as the big things. I'm not saying, nor is Saint Isaac saying don't ask for things. No, ask him. Ask him with trust and let him do the rest. He's going to provide these things. Increase your faith in him in that way too. Do not heap up empty phrases like the Gentiles. What does like the Gentile means? The people of this earth seek bodily things. Do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat or what shall we drink? With what shall we be clothed? Your Father knows you need these things. A son does not ask his father for bread, but supplicates for a greater portion stored for him in his petition in his Father's house. What our Lord commands about daily bread, what we should ask for, is a petition he handed down to the common people because of the weakness of their mind. Consider what he commanded those perfect in knowledge and sound of soul. Do not be anxious for food or clothing. If the Father cares for the birds that have no rational soul, how much more for you? Ask God for the kingdom and righteousness, and he will add these things as well. This is his promise to us, by the way. This is what the gospel tells us. As for the kingdom of heaven, everything else will be added on. And so we really have to learn how to do that. We really, really have to learn, how do I ask for the kingdom of heaven? How does God do this for me as well? So he says, if he is slow to grant your request and you do not receive at once, do not be distressed. You are not wiser than God. If you remain as you are, it is either because your conduct does not match your request, or because your heart's paths diverge from your prayer's aim, or because your inner state is childish compared to the greatness of the things you seek. This is so profound. This is so profound. I want to start there next time we continue with homily number 3. But for today, thank you so much for being here. This is it. I know we had a lot of a shorter session today. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm enjoying exploring this with you all. I hope you are enjoying exploring this with me as well. Bye for now.